to the Cooler Women's Wellness Tribe, the podcast. Get comfortable, get your walking shoes on, and let's get going. Hello, I'm just jumping on before the episode to say please remember information shared in this episode is not a substitute for professional medical advice. Always consult with a qualified healthcare provider before making any decisions about your health. Your well-being is my top priority, so listen to your doctor first, and then you can use the insights here to make informed choices on your journey to better health. I hope you enjoy the episode. So hello and welcome to another episode of the Cooler Women's Wellness Podcast. Welcome back to all of my regular listeners and welcome to anyone who's new here. And I have a really interesting, I wanted to say inspiring guest here today. You are interesting as well. But I had inspiring in my head, and I virtually met this lady just last week, and we had our first conversation on Zoom, and I was blown away by her story. So I was like, this is going to be amazing. And I know a lot of you listening will also have your minds blown by my guest today. So I'd like to welcome Neetu, and she is a spiritual healer, and she's here in Dubai. And she's also, amazingly, a breast cancer survivor. So she's been free of breast cancer for just over 1 year. She had her diagnosis in 2021. And she's here today to talk about how she got through that whole traumatic experience. And I'm not going to give too much away because I'll let you tell your story. But she stepped away from what we might call, I guess, the traditional way into her own way of maneuvering through this diagnosis to get the all clear. So I'll let her go into all of the details because it's her amazing story. And yes, welcome.
Hi everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity. First, I would like to thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to talk and send this message out. I always wanted to inspire females and women out there who are, going through the breast cancer. Because when I was detected with it, I saw how painful it is basically, And when I got free of it, I really wanted to put across to people how it is easy to get out of the situation without going through the systematic methods of surgery, radiation, chemo, and I feel that from my story, I would like to inspire people that healing has the power to get you out where you are. You do not have to lose your breasts. You do not have to go through radiations. Neither you have to do chemo. You don't have to go to the painful sufferings anymore. You can just do it very simply and very easily through the alternative methods. So I remember I was detected. So basically, I was already a healer at that time. I feel that is a blessing, which I always tell people around, or I tell my dad most of the times that, I feel very, very, very blessed and very proud that I'm a healer. And maybe God knew that if I have this modalities, I can change my life. So I was previously an investment banker. So I worked in investment banking, in Citibank, and I always want to be successful in the materialistic world. I wanted to be a corporate. But I don't know, in 2018, I think God wanted me to be back into the spiritual healings and readings. And I started my journey with Theta Healing. I started in 2014. I did the course. I became a teacher, but still I was running away from my calling. And then I went here, there, had a lot of ups and downs. And then when I came back, I learned Akashic, I learned Tarot, I did Access Bar. And then when I came back, 2018, I was a full-fledged spiritual teacher and a healer. And that helped my journey, which I feel today. So I think I was very blessed. So I remember on the 6th of December, I lost my mom in 2020, December 8th, 2020. And again, I was in depression. I had an imbalance and I was coming out of it for that 1 year, it took a toll on me, and it took me the grieving, the sadness. And by December 2021, I was sure that I came out of it and I'm getting stable. I think God had something else decided for me. And I was one day looking at myself in the mirror and I was self-examining. I don't know why. I usually don't do that. But suddenly that day I just felt, I remember it was 6th December 2021 itself. And I was like, oh, what's this? And I saw a lump coming out or something. It was very strange on my right breast. And again, it's a blessing that I was a healer. So we are always taught how to scan our bodies, and I have always been scanning, and my scannings are really good. So when I scanned, I knew what it was. But as we say, our mind was not ready to accept the fact that it's breast cancer. So I told myself not to get upset. I said, okay, let's wait. My mom's first death anniversary was on the 8th. I said, let me finish this and then I'll see what happened. I waited again for 2 days, but I think it was what told. I went to the doctor and she said I needed to go immediately for an ultrasound. I knew what it was. I was so worried and so scared. When I went, they did the ultrasound. I asked her, I was crying to the max. And she said, yeah, 85% it is confirmed. And I was still hanging on to that 25%, telling her, I hope it's not there. But she said, you need to go for biopsy.
Yeah.
So my father called my brother. We rushed out to his place and we got all the tests done next day and it confirmed. I remember I was crying for three hours and it was it just takes a toll on you. It just, as if your entire life is coming down. Nothing is left. And I told one thing to the doctor, I might die, but I'll not go through the suffering of the radiations, the chemo, and I am not going for surgery. But as usual, doctors put a lot of fears. This is what I learned down the lane, fears, which is the lowest vibration. And people do not step back to put those fears into you. Their fears, they'll always project it into you, especially the doctors. They kept on putting on fears and fears and fears. And they said, you're a healer. You should be more sensible. I took some time. I said, just give me 2 days. I want to go back home and see what I can do. My father said, are you sure? I said, yeah. So when I came back home, I remembered, when I was doing theta healing, Vaina ma'am would always tell us we all have cancer cells in our body. What situation we go through which activates them is only the call to find out, and you can heal cancer. And she had done it for herself. So that's what came to my mind. And I went home and I meditated and I got the message and I got in touch with a homeopathic doctor. I called him up and I started crying. I said, this has happened. And he said, don't worry, come. And he was already my doctor. He's the one who got me out of depression. So when I called him up, he said, yes, come, let's see what happened. So I left everything. I went to him and I said, can you save me? He said, yes, I can, but you really need to have patience. I said, that's fine. I have a lot of patience. I can do it. And I know my healings. And I assured my dad saying that, don't worry, I'll make it. I'm not going to go away. I'm not dying. For sure. That is for sure. If God pulled me into this modalities and he made me a spiritual teacher where I was already teaching people, I was already healing people, he wouldn't choose me just like that. So he said, you just don't go away. That's all. You do whatever. I'll stand by you. But I can't take the pain of losing your mom and then to you. I said, no worries. I took the call. I went to the doctor. He searched for my medicine and said he found the medicine, but it would take 1 whole year for me to come out. And he said, I said, am I safe? That was the only word I would always use. Am I to have time? And because the doctor said the cancer, I was already crossing the 2nd stage, and it has also spread on my left breast. So both the breast had to go, and that was the only way I could survive. Otherwise, it would catch up into other parts of the body. And that was really scary. I couldn't let my breast go. It was and I knew how much trauma it is to let a body part of your body to go. It is something so important, and I saw people over there, and I knew I was not the one who was going to stand there and crib and cry about it or let go of things. So we came back, we did everything. I started my healing journey. He told me, if you have 20 days, you give me 20 days. And if even 1% of your lump, even 1 mm of your lump comes down in that 20 days, trust me, we can make it. I asked the doctor, can I take 20 days? I put things over here and there, lied to him. I took my time. He said, okay, fine. I can give you 20 days. I fixed the surgery. I said, yeah, everything. I will come back. Don't worry. So I did my rituals, I did everything. And when I went for my second ultrasound, the lump has reduced.
Oh my
And I
God.
was like, I went to my doctor and he said, see, your lump 15 mm, your lump is reduced. What else do you want in 20 days? We can make it. As usual, you go to the doctor. These people do not believe. These systematic, the allopathic doctors, they just don't believe in homeopathic. And they thought I was mad. They shouted at me. He shouted. He thought I was gone crazy. He put a lot of fear. You're dying. You're not understanding. I told him it has reduced. I can see in the reports. He's like, these are thick reports. They just make long reports. And PET scan and ultrasound is the difference because they have 2 dimensions. We have 3 dimensions. Even if your 2 mm your lump is reduced, how does that make a difference? I said, that's enough. For
That's
me, it's a difference.
Yeah.
So I took my reports. I came back home. Everybody shouted that I'm gone crazy. My family, everybody fears. I found out one thing. Fear is what people, I think, cash on all the time. So that was one thing that I kept aside and I came back home and I started my regress healings. I thank God that I was healer and I had all those modalities that I do today and I've been taught across the world. I used my Kashik. I did theta. I did breath work. I did pranic. I did scanning. I studied limiting beliefs. I did automatic writing. I think I did not leave any healing modality that I knew aside. We worked and we worked and we worked on it. And my doctor had just told me 3, 4 things that he said I need to keep, careful about. First, my appetite shouldn't go down.
Okay.
I shouldn't be in a stress level at all. And he said I shouldn't be losing weight. And my breast nipple shouldn't be going inside. And the size shouldn't go up and down. He said, rest. If this is every day, if you examine yourself, you're going to be fine to go. So I took homeopathic. And God's blessing again, I did a reading because I felt that something else was needed. I was doing regress healings have started. And the best part, I feel that I'm blessed. I always tell myself that I was already this spiritual journey. All my students across the globe step forward. They were the ones who said, you cannot go with one opinion, take another opinion. I took 2 opinions and all came back with the same thing. And they said, no, ma'am, you can do it. Ma'am, you can. And that gave me that hope. And my doctor gave me the hope. And that's when I started. And everybody's blessings that my students have stood by. They would do things for me. They would keep me happy. So it was a beautiful journey, I think. And then I knew there was something extra required. So my doctor found an allopathic doctor. He was a cancer specialist and he stepped forward because of a friend and he did not tell me to go for surgery. He said, okay, there's another medicine you can take. It doesn't do much, but I think that just saying that word and medicine may have worked. I have no idea, but it gave me a hope. Oh, I'm taking something extra. It is going to work, So I came, and the best part, nobody could ever from my face make out that I was going through breast cancer. I taught student at that time. I traveled to Dubai again for teaching. I did healings. I did readings. I did all my work. Very smoothly, and it was just a journey. It was very, very beautiful. And then I came back I think in June, I was again over here teaching students and everything. And that's when I knew that if my doctor just told me, don't go for again and again the test. Because he says the cancer cell, because they're on the side, if you every time prick them, they are going to start, multiplying and going aside on the other sides also. So leave it at least for 4 to 5 months. And I will let you know when you have to go for the next PET scan. And I remember I left from Dubai and I prayed to God that this time when my PET scan happens, I am going to be free of this. And on the 1st August, we go for a PET scan and my doctor is shocked. There was no cancer. He couldn't believe it, my allopathic doctor, because he was the one who saw the reports. My homeopathic has already seen it, but he wanted the allopathic to give us an opinion. When he saw, he just couldn't believe it. He said, are you sure of it? I said, 100%. He's like, it is a miracle because no one ever has done this just through healings, alternative methods, and just homeopathic and divine grace. The blessings, the work hard, and 8 months, it is not even a year. And he looked at it, and as usual, again, he was telling, oh, yeah, you're cancer free, but still go for surgery. I said, for what, doctor? He said, no, you never know. I said, can you guarantee me? He said, no, there's no guarantee. Just come back. I said, okay, fine. I'll go. Can you guarantee me and write it down that if I go for surgery, nothing is going to happen to me again? Because I have clients who come back to me, and I had cancer clients coming when I was cancer free. They would come and say it relapsed again. After 10 years, they were again had same cancer. They had gone through the same thing. People die. So what is the guarantee you can give? He said, I cannot do that. I said, that's it. So you don't have even the right to tell me to go for surgery when you cannot do it and you cannot guarantee me. He said, fine. I went to my homeopathic doctor and he said, you're a walking miracle. He said, in millions people, and I told him, it's you. He said, no, it's not me. It's you. Because the patience that you kept and the way you have gone in your journey, just through healings and the medicine, is amazing. Nobody can do it. It's a miracle. And yes, I always tell people when I meet them that I don't go out and tell people. I remember when I was in the healing spiritual world, when I started, people would come and say, oh, what is the healing about? You're wasting your time. It doesn't do anything. What change has come in your life? I wanted to tell all those people out there, the power of healing, you really need to see it in yourself. It changes your life. You know, when I went for the PET scan and people would look at me when what they would do for the scanning, they would always ask, are you sure? Yeah, I know. They would look at me, and because I never looked like a person who's having cancer.
Yeah.
My students, when they were learning classes, they could never see it until, something happened and they were told and they would come to know, and they'd always say, oh, you are not going to go away anywhere. And people would put in fear. I remember in that time, they would always tell me, you have 6 months to live. I used to always tell my dad, at least I have 6 months, right? Can I live the way I want? Give me a chance, because I know so well that if the divine is with me and my healing power is with me, nothing can ever happen to me. That I'm very sure about. So yeah, it's been a very, very amazing journey. And my message to all those female out there, after that I wanted this mission. It became for me that I want to empower every woman out there who is going through this toughest time. I've seen it is not easy to let go of a body part or to go through chemo or radiation. It takes a toll on you, especially emotional. And if you don't have support, if we do come out of it, I have seen the survivors, but the emotions, the trauma still is left in us. It's somewhere, it triggers you. If something happens, you always have a fear of not falling sick again. It does if it can take a toll on me when I have not done anything, I'm sure those who really go through a tough time.
Yeah.
And I've gone and...
Sorry, I was going to say, it's such an amazing story. And I feel like it's a great example of what a lot of people face, especially when you're within the spiritual world. So if you're sick, do we reach for, in your case, it was going to the doctor and listening to the doctor's advice of, you need to have surgery, you need to do chemo, you need to do radiotherapy, but even something as simple as when you have a headache, do you reach for paracetamol or the tablets that we don't know what is in them, or can we reach for these other methods? Can we, meditate? Can we use essential oils? Can we, go back and look at our diet and our stress levels? So instead of reaching for these things that we're so conditioned to think that we need, asking yourself again, do I need to put this into my body, or can I, we've all got the medicine within us. We can all heal. And just having that conversation. And I know yours is not an extreme version, but probably the top of, what could you be going through, that I just don't know. I think you're so brave to make that decision as well, because as you were talking, I was sort of putting myself into your position. And I think my initial reaction, even as someone who uses lots of healing modalities for other things, I think my initial reaction first would also be like, get me into surgery, because it's just, it's so brave to go, no, I'm going to take a couple of days. I'm going to take 20 days to see if this works. And that takes a lot of courage, because, the way that we're programmed, and, we see it all the time. And I know in Dubai, surgeries are just that,
Yeah.
there's a street in Dubai, isn't there, that you drive down and it's like the doctors are like celebrities and they're on big billboards, and it's, it's in our faces that this is what we need to do when we're sick, and it's like all over. And then the little spiritual places are kind of dotted in between, the wellness centers, the holistic centers. And I feel like it's this battle of the big pharmaceutical companies and, healing. Like, people healed before pharmaceutical companies I don't know how long, 100, 150 years. What did people do before this? They did all the modalities that, you pulled out. Just a couple of questions. So if there's someone listening to this that's not necessarily breast cancer or cancer, any kind of illness or anything that they are struggling with mentally and are thinking there must be other things that I could try, what are your go-tos? What would you say, even if it's severe back pain or, sciatica, so it's an illness that they feel like they've tried everything medical and they want to try holistic, they want to try other ways, what would you say? What are your first sort of steps?
Okay. So for that, I would always tell them to heal their belief systems, because the belief system works very strongly. We hardly believe in ourselves. We hardly believe that we have the power to heal. So we're always looking for the outside external help, and help is all within. So I know when I have a headache, I never take any Panadol or I don't touch anything. I go meditate. I start healing myself. I heal my body. I look where it's going wrong. I send a light. And believe me, trust me, within half an hour, my headache is gone. Yeah. I remember I had a lot of anxiety issue when I was, when my mom was sick and I did not have people around. And I was not understanding why am I having this, I never even knew what anxiety was till, my mom fell sick and people started using that word for me. And so, what is this? Anxiety comes to you because you have certain on a subconscious mind, something the thought has come in. You just have to go and look what are you thinking at that moment that is creating that anxiety within you. The moment you heal, I love theta healing for that. So I have done a lot of sessions and people have cleared out of 20 years anxiety within 3 sessions. I do inner child. So there are a lot of conditioning when you have a child within you is conditioned, and when you are triggered with it, that is why you have all these, whether we say diabetes, whether we say back pains, thyroid, every sickness that we have, even a headache when you wake up. My father keeps telling me, take Panadol. I said, no, I know there's something that is not right. Maybe I did not eat right, or I was thinking something in the night. I had a restless night. Let me give her 1 hour to myself. If it's not going to go at the end, then I will look into a medicine, what I need to take. And trust me, it is so easy to come out of these. You do not have to take these medicines because they do not do anything good to you. They all have side effects at the end of the day. If your life can become so easy just to wake up and do a meditation or just to release what you have within, and half an hour it's gone, it is an amazing, magical feeling. So I advise people when they come to me, I always tell them, find out why is it happening to you? Why are you creating this sickness in your body? What is that's triggering in you that needs to be released so that this gets permanently gone? Because this is, if you take allopathic medicines or systematic type of medicines, they're not going to go forever. It is just going to subside for the time being. Another 5 days, you will again have it. Like people have vertigo, sciatica, even heel sciatica. I remember I was having this pain in my leg with the one nerve during the same time. And people started telling me, when you talk about it, oh, you're getting sciatica. I said, really? What is that word? So it is so nice when you're naive about it and you don't know. I said, oh, then I never read online. One thing I would suggest people, please stop going online and searching what it meant, because it only creates fears in you. Oh, this can happen with this. Oh, this can happen. Because I remember my doctor told me, for your breast cancer, go online and check. I was like, no, I don't want to check others' experiences or what exactly it happens. It's fine with me. I will take it and divine will give me the message and I will go through that. So when you are a healer, when you are healing, and our body, we all know, has such a powerful healing. It's self-healing. It's Self
Yeah.
heals so much over the night. So why do we have to go all the time for the medicine? Yes, I tell people, if it's a last, doctors are also healers, but nowadays doctors only feed you fears.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
remember, when my mom fell sick, sometime I wish that time I was well. There was so much fear the doctor put me that I had to take her for surgery, and nothing happened. I still lost her.
Yeah.
So I felt that this was much better call that I could have healed her. Same thing, my dad, he was also going through a tough time, and doctor said that I need to put her for surgery. Again, maybe we are blessed. So that time I said, no, dad, we are not going to go for surgery. Let's try homeopathic medicine for you. And we tried. And I think within 1 month, he's fine. It's been
Yeah.
1.5 years. There's nothing wrong, touch wood. There's nothing wrong with him.
Yeah.
So I want to tell those people who are not into healings or anything, please do learn or find out an alternative method. It definitely helps you a lot. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
I agree. I've made a podcast on it before, that I used to be a very anxious person. And at the same time, I had sciatica. Basically, the things you just mentioned, terrible back pain. And I was constantly going to the doctors. But this is before I sort of stepped into my spiritual era. And everything was in my head. And because I was so anxious, I was also manifesting pains. Someone could say to me that they had a heart attack, and I would go home and I would have pains in my chest because it was my head, and the anxiety was like, oh, they've just said that, you've got that now. And I was just in this whirlwind of pain and suffering and constant tablets and injections. And then my dad got sick. He had cancer. And when he got sick, I was like, whoa, there's actual things for me to be concerned about now. So my attention went on him. And when I stopped thinking so much about what I was going through, which wasn't necessarily real, I was like, oh. And then I started, I brought some crystals in the hospital and I would take them to his treatments, and I stopped worrying about me, and all my manifestations of back pain and sciatica subsided. And I was like, right, okay, there's something to this, because yes, I was worrying about my dad, and I did have worries about that, but that's normal. My other worries were sort of all my own head, overthinking things that were never going to happen, or things that had happened that I couldn't change. And it was all manifesting in my back and, nerve pain. Of course, I was nervous all of the time. It was manifesting in my nerves, my sciatic nerve. And now, fast forward 4 years, if I get a headache, the same as you've just said, I think, right, have I been on my phone too long? Do I need to switch the TV off?
Yeah.
Have I drank enough water? Have I had too many biscuits and now I've got a bit of a sugar dip? I think, like, what have I done? Instead of just reaching for paracetamol, most of the time it's, I need a drink of water, or I need to put my phone away for a little bit because it's intense. Or I haven't worn my sunglasses and drove home and I've been squinting and I've given myself a headache. But the old me would have just popped tablets, wouldn't have even thought about other ways. I wouldn't have gone to meditate. Like, now I'll just close my eyes and meditate for 5 minutes. And if I have period cramps, I've looked at my diet, and my periods now, they come and go, and it's pretty much just, I know it's there, but it doesn't give me any trouble. But before, even that was trouble. So every month I'd be heavy bleeding and cramps, and it was all just tablets after tablets. I would carry 24 paracetamol around with me. I always had paracetamol. I was that person that was like, yeah, there's a tablet for that. And now I'm like, no, I'm not taking one. I'll get some menthol and I'll put it onto my temples and I'll lie down, headache's gone, have some water, and that's just a little example. Obviously, there's lots of different, but I really do, like you've just said, people need to give themselves a chance to heal. And yes, we've got this amazing, science is amazing, and we do have these options, but why not make yourself the first option? See what you can do first, and then this is the backup, I think,
Yeah. I completely agree because I've seen there's always a root cause. I always tell people, we create. I sometimes sit and tell my family, they used to tell me, this is very normal. So what? We all go through this. I used to tell myself that if this was normal, I would have been born with it.
Yes. Yeah.
God did not born me with any of the sickness. I picked it down the lane. Whether it's anxiety, whether it's indigestion, whether it's my diabetes, whether it's my thyroid, whether it's my back pain. If I'm overloaded with responsibilities and without realizing it and I'm carrying it, definitely my shoulders are going to pain. All I have to do is understand what is the root cause, where it began, what am I doing? Is my lifestyle is good? So once I start understanding so for me also, I started looking what happened in my life that has created the sickness for me. So I started going back, looking at the dots, what has exactly happened, And when I started saying, oh my God, when I lost my mom, this is what I was going through. And, this is why it took a toll, lack of nurturing, lack of taken care, lack of love, lack of hatred, resentment, grief. That is what got into the heart. And, cancer is basically because of hatred. And lack of nurturing. If there is not too much nurturing in your life and you are not supported too much, there's lack of love in your life and there's a lot of hatred and resentment, that is when you start having it. And the things that I advise people, yes, what I did was, there is certain things that we are supposed to put in our diet, especially where we shouldn't take white flour. Because I always used to get a message, because whatever message I used to keep getting during my sickness, I used to avoid those things. Okay, now this. Every time I would get a step, okay, do Akashic now. Akashic, basically, we go into our past lives and clear the karmic baggage. So I started doing that. Then I would get theta. Then I would get even for the food, I would get a message. Oh, now you're not supposed to have white flour because the cancer cell feed on it. So I completely left that off. Then I found out that ash god, if you start taking the juice every day morning, that doesn't let the cancer cells come in. So I started taking that in my diet. So, it was so beautiful, the journey. I didn't have to go for a dietitian. I would always receive him as sweets. So I was telling my dad, why it was easier for me to heal also because I was already not having sweets ever. I was given a sweet tooth. And when I became fine, now I really eat so many sweets. I kept changed, Maybe I needed to get fine or some cells change. I did a healing on myself. Now, and because cancer cell feeds on a sweet also. So, it's very beautiful when you get a direct message from the divine and this is what you need to do. Because I feel the problem with people when they take systematic approach, it's the fear. This is going to happen to you. Oh my God, this is such a big thing. This is the easiest way out. Why are you suffering, just like that, not taking medicines about it? It's mostly to do with the, on the limitation, as you said, the conditionings that we have. We grow up with that. This is good. Take this as this is the only way, and people will also come and give you, no, take this medicine. So I think a lot of things will go with that also.
Yeah, I think the whole COVID saga was a perfect example of how they feed on fear, because it was in retrospect now we can look back and I've watched programs on the lockdowns weren't really necessary. What we could have relied on is people just using their own common sense of I'm sick, so I'm going to stay in the house and keeping distance from each other, which we do anyway when you've got the flu. You're not going up to everyone and kissing. But they sort of fed on this fear of stay 6 feet apart, stay in your house. And then when the vaccine came, you need the vaccine basically or else you're going to die. And I know lots of people did die from COVID, but then they were kind of used as that fear carrot. Look at all of these people, and now we can look back at it and think, yes, lots of people died, but it was a new thing they didn't know how to deal with, and we can learn from the mistakes. And I think that's just a perfect example. And, watching things about it now of the key words that they use, like we're keeping you safe, we're supporting, and they put these words in, whereas really it's kind of like they, I don't know, it's that whole situation where I could talk about for a long time, but that was also one of my turning points as well, because I was like, in a second, we're being told to do all of these things, and then there's this vaccine that hasn't been tested, and it's sort of, if you don't have the vaccine, you can't travel, and this is all brand new. And then I was like, whoa, this is too much. And that also sort of showed me a different side to medicines and the money that was made from the vaccines. And I was like, wait, are you trying to help people, or are you trying to make money?
Make money. Very true. I completely agree with you. Even when I was like, when I used to go to hospital and I take my reports, they all wanted a surgery, because at the end of the day, doctors get money out of it. They're not bothered how you're feeling. They're not bothered about your emotions. They're not bothered they are only, especially in Dubai, I see a lot, insurance.
Yes.
If you have an insurance, they really want to earn out of it. They don't have any compassion towards you anymore. They're like, no, and they think you're crazy if you want to talk about something else. And exactly, it's all about money. I completely agree with you. Because I have seen, insurance, they will unnecessarily put you on surgery. I remember my dad, he was perfectly fine, and he was having these headaches because of the gastric issues. And, I did not go that day to the doctor. I had some class going on, and he went by himself. He never came back and told me. The doctor told him, oh, I think you're having so many headaches. You have maybe having a brain tumor.
Oh my gosh.
And he was so fear, as I said. They put the fear, and because a healer, I don't believe in this thing. So he did not tell me. He knew I would get wild about it. So when we landed up in India and we went to the doctor, he's like, "Nay, I want this test. I want that test." I said, "Dad, what happened to you? There's nothing wrong. I scanned you. There's nothing wrong." He's like, "No." Then he said, "No." Then when I went to Dubai, this doctor, I said, "He's a crazy doctor. Do not listen to them." And then we did. There was nothing wrong with him. It's just his gastric issue. And I still remember I'd gone to one of the hospitals in India, and I was just sitting across the table, and I was looking at him, and he suddenly calls. My father was telling I had this issue and that issue, because he was going through the loss of my mom.
Yeah.
So it is going to take him time to come out of his depression. So he did not look around the world. He was only concentrating on himself. So small things would happen. He would want a doctor, and he would, so the doctor trying to prove that he's hallucinating. He said, "Your dad is going." Yeah, he said, "Your dad, where do you have, where is this?" It's like, "What's wrong with the doctor today?" He called up his colleague, and he just called her and said, "I'm sending you one patient, look at him." So I said, "Whom are you recommending?" "No, he needs counseling." And he was shouting at me. He said, "You don't know, your dad is going through a tough time. What is that?" I said, "Listen, doctor, I can take care of my father, and there is nothing wrong with him. Definitely, there's nothing wrong with him. He doesn't need any therapy. He doesn't need any consultation. He's not going mad." So I took him out. I got him home. I said, I said, "You better stop going to doctors now. I'll do the healing. You're perfectly fine." And if you look at him today, it's been 6 months, 6 months and a year.
And he's fine. Oh, amazing. Yeah.
This is what people do.
Yeah. And I think anyone who listens to the podcast, I'm biased because we're talking on the podcast, but if you're listening to this and you've got to that point where I hope this is another branch, a way, it's a hope that have a look at alternatives. You don't have to accept what we're told to accept, what we're expected to accept. And, like I've said, if there's any doctors or nurses listening to this, no disrespect, you have amazing jobs. And, in the UK, we have the NHS. They're amazing. We don't have insurance. We don't need it. Everything is covered. But we can also support their hard work by going to see if we can heal ourselves first, or we can support our well-being first, and then using them as second option. And I just think have that healthy balance, and just keeping this, that you might not even need it anymore, because keeping the doctors and nurses, and they can't see my hand. I've just got one hand as the doctors and nurses. I'm putting that to one side. And we have got this other option. And I know that I speak to a lot of people who, complaining about the doctors, and they just then feel stuck. And this podcast hopefully showing you got your amazing story of breast cancer survivor. And just to point out as well, you still have your boobs. just to, they're still both there. And yeah, I asked that question, didn't I, when we met the other day? I was like, still got your boobs? Yeah, boobs are still there, so if anyone,
they're healthy.
Yeah, and they're healthy. Yay. And if anyone is going through this, obviously reach out. I will put all of your details in the show notes. If you're going through something similar, or if you have been through, or a family member, mothers generally, or anyone who's going through some kind of cancer treatment or illness, and you do want to, have a look at the other side, then, reach out, and you'll be happy to help, I'm sure.
Yes, I will. I just want to put out this to the world and all to those females out there that trust me, you're not alone. You do not really, really have to go through the suffering of surgery, the emotional imbalance, or the trauma, or, radiations, chemo. You do not have to go through all this. It can be resolved. It can be solved. You can come out of it easily, effortlessly, and very comfortably, all through the alternative healings and homeopathic. And believe me, it works. It definitely works. You do not have to go through all those, things that I used to see when I used to go to the hospital. And it's and they lose their, taste after the radiation. You lose your hair. You don't have to go through that toughest suffering. Yeah. Please, all the women's out there, it is possible. It can happen. You just have to take that one small step.
Brave. You're very brave.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So like I said, I'll put everything in the show notes so you can reach out if you have any questions. And as always, thank you for listening. Thank you for joining us this week. And I will see everybody in the next episode. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
And that's it today, everybody. I hope you have a lovely week, and I'll see you again next week. Don't forget, 5 stars, download, tell your friends. You're amazing.